Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialist who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Emlyn Brown, Global Senior VP of Wellbeing at Accor. Accor is the world's leading augmented hospitality group. Accor has grown into a diversified ecosystem of 40 hotel brands, ranging from luxury to the economy segment. Emlyn, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it, without Accor? But yes, I'm all good, thanks.
Well, you're an industry beast, my friend. So it's quite hard to shorten it into two sentences about what Accor does.
Yeah, it's a very big company, and we're very pleasured and blessed to have a lot of fantastic brands under our portfolio for sure.
Yeah, we'll dive into that, especially in terms of the augmented hospitality. But like in terms of your background, Emlyn, is how did you get into the role that you're in now? And maybe maybe a better question is kind of did well-being find you, or did you find well-being? Like, how did you get into the side of the industry?
Well, it's probably best to start with the well-being finding me, or me finding well-being. I'd come from a sport and fitness background through university. I spent the first 4 or 5 years of my career working in professional sport, and then segued into the health club industry, the very early stages of the development of luxury health clubs with a group called Holmes Place, which for some of your European and British listeners will be, a brand that sort of resonates with them well. So the mid-90s, I joined Holmes Place working in corporate sales. I spent 8 years with them. It was a very dynamic, fun, exciting time of growth within our industry. Holmes Place was an early adopter of the idea of a luxury club. In those days, people were members of health clubs. These were very alien things, that came into the market. And Holmes Place had a very particular approach to what the club looked like. We grew very quickly. I was with that growth and benefited from that growth. Particularly, I spent time in Switzerland, spent time in Germany, growing and working into a regional role. And then I sort of hit about my early 30s and took some time out, because that was a very intense period. I had a little bit of time out to work out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do next. And I felt as if travel, hospitality, and luxury hospitality particularly was an interesting field to go into. I joined a group called Jumeirah based in Dubai. I was overseeing leisure and recreation for a 7-star hotel called Burj Al Arab, which is very famous. Sure. I then had a great chance to work with Six Senses for a number of years. And from there, I got into consulting in the wellness field and spent about a decade in consultancy based in Southeast Asia, China, India, working globally on very, very large-scale projects, or down to brand realignments or spa and wellbeing concepts for luxury hotel brands with a group called GoCo, and then lastly with a group called Recent. And then about 2018, the role came available within Accor, and I believe that maybe my ability of having lived in 3 or 4 continents and worked in different areas, that sort of gave me the sort of breadth of understanding to join Accor and work with multiple brands. So I joined them in 2018 and oversaw well-being at that time for about 22 brands, and now moved into a more senior role, mostly overseeing the strategic direction and design and development of wellness and well-being within our brands, and supporting our operational colleagues on delivering that. So that's a bit of a synopsis of the journey. And I think, I came from a fitness and sport background at an early stage of the health club industry, and I've always grown with that.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of listeners from Holmes Place. I know Mr. Fisher himself is a listener, so he'll like the plug. I'm sure he remembers you.
Well, he deserves it. He was a very much a visionary when it came to that. And it was a very, very important part of my career, and one that I'm always very thankful that I was part of that emergence. And I know a number of my colleagues in the industry who are still there or come from a Holmes Place background. So it was really a great time.
Nice. And then let's understand a little bit about this augmented hospitality that you're driving in terms of strategic direction. What does that mean?
That's a really good question. I think that augmented hospitality for Accor is about sort of shaking up the thought process about how we think about hospitality, what our consumers want. Yes. In terms of what is a hotel, what does it mean for the local community? How does it support that community? How do we interface and future-proof via digital or via experiential elements? How we tied into all those different things. And so I think for me, And for the group, it's more about looking at a hotel and saying, how does that really change and resonate within the future? And particularly when it comes down to thinking about hotels being places for living, not places for sleeping, which is a big change. Or Mr. Bazan, or Sebastian Bazan, our CEO, stating very clearly, we're building hotels for community, not building hotels for outside guests. That's the augmentation of hospitality that comes. And then with that comes the idea of enhancing your food and beverage offering, of enhancing definitely your well-being offering, right? To draw in both external and local consumers, and to augment the entire process of what hospitality actually means. And as a group, obviously, with our brands that range from ultra luxury Laundry Express all the way down to a wonderful Ibis product, that we're able to really meet the needs of a really, really broad group of consumers. I think that's the augmentation that we're leading towards.
And the challenge of implementing wellness strategies within 50 brands. I don't know how you sleep, sir. Is probably the first question. But what's the biggest challenges with such a large group putting that across the board? Because is it micro strategies for all 50 brands, I guess?
Oh, well, I mean, I think firstly you can separate, let's say, very clearly that the well-being pivot moves more towards the luxury and lifestyle end of our brands, which will be about 20 of our brands rather than the full 40. That doesn't mean that I'm not passionate about bringing well-being to every consumer that comes into our locations, but delivery of that would mostly be skewed towards luxury and lifestyle. What we do know is very interesting, Paul, is that the idea that 4 out of 5 of our guests, irrespective of the brand, so it could be an Ibis, or it could be an Orient Express or a Raffles, are taking a step every day to improve their health and well-being. Right, that can be 10,000 steps. It could be paleo diet. It could be doing mud runners or Ironman or whatever it would be. Right, but 80% of our consumers crossing our threshold is looking to improve their health and well-being in a certain way. So there is a need to meet wellness or the wellness aspirations of our consumers, irrespective of brand, and that's definitely an aspiration. Yes. However, mostly my work is skewed towards the sort of luxury and lifestyle and premium sector of where we're actually at. Within this, this is a big operation and a big machine that is Accor. I think it's really important to set a very clear strategy about what well-being is and what wellness is. So when we first arrived with the company, it was like, what's wellness, what's well-being, why the words, what does it actually mean? And for us, it's very simple. That wellness is the actions and activities that you take on a daily basis or a monthly basis to improve your health, to move towards a state of well-being. Okay, we're in the outcome department, so that's why we're the well-being department, either with a hyphen or without, depends on which part of the world you're in.
Do you find you have to take your fitness hat off a lot? I think that we're just talking about the Beyond Active Australian event, and when they talk about wellness, that always kind of leans towards fitness because, of course, the paradigm is fitness. But do you have, or have you kind of trained yourself to not be always just so fitness orientated, even though your background was from fitness?
Well, I think that it's an interesting question. I think that unfortunately I've worked in the sort of spa and wellness side for a number of years, and I worked in the fitness side. And I think that any well-being strategic direction or deliverable is absolutely a combination of those things, right? Yeah, and I think that the exercise piece within hospitality is probably the strongest way you can reach the broadest audience, right? Yeah. So if you think about fitness adoption in hospitality in hotels, looking about 20 to 25% of our guests will be passing through the fitness area or taking part in fitness while on a property. And that's a considerable number. So if you want to reach the broadest consumer base within hospitality, I think you do it through fitness, and you probably do it through nutrition because everyone eats in the hotel, right?
Yes.
If you're covering fitness and nutrition, you're hitting a lot of bases when it comes down to delivering a wellness sort of element, right? And on top of that, you can have mindfulness practice and design and digital and all the different things that come. Yeah. But let's say, in its basic terms, moving your body and fueling your body is, for me, 70 to 80% of your battle, right?
Totally.
And I think that so I think that the opportunity that we have in hospitality through fitness is vast, right? Yes. That doesn't mean that spa experience as well as experiences, mindfulness, meditation aren't important, right? But if you're looking to really tackle that premium, mid-scale premium and sort of lower end luxury consumer, you do that through movement. Absolutely. Yeah. So taking your fitness hat off is a no and a yes, depending on where you're at. What you need to do is have a balanced approach to is exercise and movement important to that brand, to that category, to that consumer, and
Yes.
then deploying the most appropriate way of delivering fitness to them,
And in your words, I guess, how do you differ from the competition at the moment? Because I always feel like, I always feel the hotels, especially the hotels I've been to more recently, they've got the balance right between, the person that just goes for business, wanting to get a workout in, nicely designed gym locations to go get it done, right? And actually the mix between some people that are going to be in more resorty feel and actually wanting to train and really focus on that every single day to maybe indulge a little bit from the food side. So I always feel like from my user point of view, the hotels do that right. But in your words, how does it differentiate?
Well, I think if we go back to how we maybe approach it from a strategic point of view, we work on a thing called 6 pillars of well-being, which is essentially which are fixed and finite ways of developing and delivering wellness experiences to our consumers in hospitality. That covers design, fitness and movement, digital, nutrition, naturally, mindfulness practice, and and also our spa experience, right, which is going to be endemic in most of our hotels. And what we do is we turn the volume up or down depending on the brand and the consumer. So with our Pullman brand, for example, fitness is an absolutely primary focus. The same with our Fairmont brand. Within our Raffles brand, we're moving more towards a longevity piece, more towards a nutritional mindfulness piece. And so the notes of wellness delivery stay the same and constant, whether it's me or other hotel brands. But how you play those notes and tunes to create the music is essentially how you differentiate from competition.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest opportunity that hospitality has in terms of meeting or exceeding the needs of our consumers is definitely through the exercise experience, right? And if you talk, you were very kind about about hotel gyms and hotel fitness. My experience is we can do a lot better. We can learn a lot from our high street based cousins and big box cousins when it comes down to this. And so I think the differentiated approach for Accor is we're embracing boutique fitness ideas. We're embracing big box fitness ideas. We want to create more club environments within our hotels, particularly our urban locations, because the needs of our consumer, the younger consumer coming through into luxury, particularly sort of like older millennial and Gen Z, is an exerciser. It's 45 to 50% adoption at club level. And as they move into premium and luxury hotels, their expectation of what fitness looks like is completely different than 15 years ago, where we could get away with lining up a bank of treadmills next to a window with some potted plants and sort of call it a gym, right? And that's not what the experience is now. I want to use my digital. I want to track my workout and exercise. I want to have a much more functional space. I need a place to do my stretching and meditation. I need to do my hyper-rise recovery piece, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So fitness looks completely different. And I think that our focus in Accor is to meet and possibly exceed that when it comes down to delivering exercise within hospitality,
And do you ever see, because of course at the moment the big conversation is, I think the big outliers, and especially in terms of digital, is where people have gotten local personas and made them relevant to the personas of a gym user, and using them as like a let's call it an influencer, to support or inspire those users. Like, do you see hotel groups doing the same? So you've got your person that's, I don't know, staying for a resort holiday for 7 days, and they can follow some an individual influencer that you guys are managing to be able to support, inspire that journey, kind of sharing their journey, or is that something too specific right now in terms of content?
Probably a little bit too specific. I think our first task is really to work on maybe the improvement and steps forwards in terms of interior design, functionality, and fitness delivery, right?
Yes.
In order to reach this sort of broader consumer base. And so gym design is different, interior design is different, and so on. It doesn't mean that we're not actively embracing and looking at, partnerships and working with people that can support that journey. I mean, we have a fantastic relationship with Pillar Wellbeing in London, who oversees our mindfulness, nutrition, and recovery. It's led by Harry Jameson, who's the Sunday Times fitness correspondent. We have then Oliver Patrick, who's the ex-head of Nuffield Physiology, doing our
Yes.
physiology and testing stuff. So very, very sophisticated fitness, right?
Yeah.
Combined with, Michelin star, vegan-based and plant-based cafe with our pillar-based cafe.
Yeah.
So, yes, at those ends, we'll work with those partners. We've obviously worked with Les Mills for a number of years with our Pullman brand. We did a fantastic activation with them. Looked to try and break a world record in exercise in Dubai, but just before COVID. We're working with the app Calm. So yes, definitely there'll be areas that we'll work on. But obviously, as a global player, we need to work maybe more on a bit more of a global scale with larger scale partners to deploy, particularly on the digital side of things. But that doesn't mean that we haven't done local activations. Our SLS brand, part of the Ennismore group, has a very strong relationship with Dog Pound in the United States, where they've done a lot of activations with them. And so there's room to do localized activations with very sort of cool and very niche brands in their sector. But I'm really looking at more of the bigger plays that we can do.
And I guess the challenge to you is you're serving so many. It's not like, I guess from a fitness point of view, you've got to, when you've, other than maybe the low cost, and even the low cost would say, okay, we can identify exactly our users. But, it's a lot easier to do those type of persona-led content pieces or inspirational pieces or support pieces when you actually know the consumer is going to be exactly this, right? You're serving a lot of different variety of people, which is tough. Or is that a bad assumption?
No, that's probably a correct assumption. I mean, look, still, I think our fitness areas are seen as amenities to the hotels, but slowly they're pivoting towards, well, how can we optimize that square meters in terms of experience for our hotel guests? Then how can we optimize that in terms of return on investment for our owners? And that's probably through membership. That membership piece could be sort of high value, low price within our premium and mid-scale product. It could be, ultimate club, high net worth club membership within our sort of Raffles product. Can be big box fitness, which we've got a number of those within our Fairmont brand. And so the conversations now with hospitality, with ownership, is less about a fitness or spa experience that services the needs of a hotel guest, but one that actually services the needs of community, or which a hotel guest can benefit. Now, that might sound like a really small change and just a simple change of words. It's actually a very, very big deal, because it completely changes how you think about design, development, location, access point, and so on. And we're really in the mind of developing, where we can, club-based opportunities, particularly in our urban locations.
Well, I just and again, not just, user of one, but I'm just thinking about all the friends I've recommended Sofitel 2x2, the classic European break in February to get some sun. And they go, a lot of them, of course, a lot of friends are in the wellness and fitness space, but they go to that gym because there is a bit of a community gym there. You're always going to find someone, you end up having workout buddies. I think they do a great job there. Shout out to them. So I get what you mean. It actually changes the reason why you go, because of that community and that fitness community and the facilities that you already have.
Yeah, we talk a little bit in our industry about community outreach, and that's usually done through food and beverage. So we talk about co-working space, or we talk about the sort of vibrant lobby space of a hotel where you come in and have a coffee, you do meetings and so on. And we talk about restaurants that are more for locals, and locals coming in, and bars. And if you go to a hotel bar and you see locals there, you feel a lot more at home than if it's just full of hotel guests, right? It's a real dynamic part of the community. To my mind, Paul, there's nothing more community driven than exercise and fitness and a club environment, right? Now, you have to get the balance right, but exactly what you described is coming in, seeing people working out, seeing people moving, having the activation within the gym, different levels of fitness and activity. That encourages people to come into the fitness area because it's animated. Nothing sort of doing that sort of workout in a hotel room. There's only two of you there. Where's the dynamic? Fitness is about dynamism. So the more dynamism we bring, the more successful it is.
The group effect. And this is what I've always been, we've got many clients that have in-room solutions, and then of course we've got virtual solutions that in the physical. I still feel like it's better to have the third place to therefore go work out, to have those kind of, you're not going down to the gym to then connect, but incidentally you actually start having build a bit of a friendship whilst doing a virtual class, or or just training, doing some weightlifting or something like that. Like, what's your view about the in-room? Because there's a lot of conversations with a lot of hotel brands that we talk about in-room versus actually doing a decent delivery down in the gym in terms of digital experiences, and not, you don't have to answer that in digital, but just maybe in-room versus gym location.
I don't want to be too controversial about this, but I really think you put the money into the fitness, into the space that is built for exercise, that is the third space within your property. Doesn't mean I don't agree with having in-room exercise equipment for those people who want to do a yoga stretch or a mat workout or use digital and digital, and we do that very, very well too. But I think that that if you were to look at the usage of that in our research, and my belief is the benefit is more to maybe make the gym 50 square meters bigger and to put more money into interior design and to put more money into those different spaces. And then look for a design of equipment that can be less intimidating at one side and move towards more functional and free weight and everything else for another user, and to really make that the place that you go to work out and exercise. I think from an investment point of view, that's more the direction we're going in. It does not mean we do not have in-room benefits and support for exercise, either through digital, through television, through yoga mats, through weights and things on demand. And that's definitely a component. But for example, and we're working with Hyperice and Normatech, for example, on recovery items that go to the guest room. That's probably more where you can deliver a recovery-based experience in the room post-exercise, right, or through post-jet lag. And that's more the direction we're going to go in.
Yeah, we actually did a study 2 years ago on this, and what we found, all of our study is based off confidence and in terms of how you engage with exercise. And what we found is the people that would actually use in-room solutions would be less in confidence. So they're actually not even confident to go step down to that physical space yet. So that's where content makes some sense to be able to have them, but leading them towards an experience, as you mentioned, to where you put your money at.
I think so.
Yeah, which makes some sense. And then I guess what is your view with AI-driven wellness solutions at the moment, just in general? Like, have you got any adoptions that you'd like to highlight?
I think that the technology and digital piece is a fascinating area we've only just really dipped our toe into, and I think that the embracement of AI within the fitness industry is going to be a seismic change in how we do lots of different things, right? From tracking data, sales, customer relationship, everything, right? It's going to change, and naturally that will impact us and hospitality and how we embrace that and how we work with that. The same as any other industry around the world. I think the great thing at the moment on the broader digital piece is the access that individuals have to their own personal data, right? And so you can really understand your physical, emotional, mental state to a certain degree through tracking or Whoop, whatever it would be. Okay, that's a good thing, because what it does is it helps you and supports you on understanding your physicality and how you can work out, not work out, move, fuel yourself, nutrition. And that's really, really positive, right? At the same time, we have access to more nutritional data, more nutritional information. We can fuel ourselves better. We know how to hydrate, etc., etc. This is all great. I think there's probably two challenges. Is one that this gamification of that experience is maybe not a concern, but something to keep an eye on, right? In terms of gamifying sleep and gamifying other different elements of your lifestyle can be, another thing. Another thing to stare at, right? Another link to your telephone, right? Which is, also the detriment of creating digital dependence, and also some of the health issues, the mental health issues that come with an addiction to this fantastic tool that we have, and we now stare at 4 to 5 hours a day. And so by linking your data to that, it's another reason to go and stare at that, which is, I think, is a bit of a challenge to some degree. I think secondly, within sort of social media and the platforms that are being done, I think one of the challenges we have right now is there's so much information. What's real, what's not, what is correct, what is not correct, what is being sold to me because of a relationship or not. What being sold to me, whether it's from biohacking to longevity to different things. And there's a lot of noise out there. And I think that the challenge we've got now in terms of, let's call it digital accessibility and information, is there's just too much of it. And I think what people will start to do is go back a bit more intuitively to their own physical state and say, how do I feel? What do I need to do? What do I like? And cherry pick what their own personal wellness idea and journey would be, rather than being reliant, and maybe also go back to a lot more scientifically driven data, right? That's available to them in order to then sort of support their lifestyle, their well-being. So on the one side, an incredible opportunity, an incredible amount of information that's nudging and supporting people to live a more healthy and wellness-driven lifestyle. At the same time, an oversupply of that that may lead, and also an oversupply of information that is sometimes good or not good. We recently released our white paper on Trends of 25. We talk about the step back from listening to social media driven new activations and ideas, where we know that 2% of the information about nutrition online is valid, and the rest of it is just false, right? So I think people are really sort of waking up to that, and they're sort of saying, look, here's my physicality, here's my tracking, here's what I feel inside of my body is right, and be a bit more intuitive about that direction. So that's a long-winded answer for that question, but it gives you
that's a great, well, it kind of links right to, because the buzzword at the moment is very much hyper personalization, and quick example of that is, like we of course linked into heavily in terms of algorithms and AI in terms of personalization, but what we're finding is that as things are getting more, let's call it personalized, people are just choosing what you get fed up, so like you could say it's personalization or not, but we know, if there's what class of the day that's literally sitting right there in a nice UX, and that people can push, 60% of people will usually push that. The example from a club point of view is, some of the operators do it really well, is do you want to be supported or inspired, with QR codes, deep linking directly to the content, and they'll use that. Like there's not we've done a lot around AI in terms of changing the background, changing the language that you want, all of this type of stuff, which we thought, the user would want to change that all the time. You can even change the time, right? So you can go, okay, it's 11-minute class, but I've got 15, make this a 15-minute class and put it in Sofitel Dubai. And then that will come up. But, 5% of our users actually use it. So it's, they will just actually go to the content piece that's already been served up that they just push yes to, because they just want the outcome, right? They don't really want to think too much about it. So I just, how much is hyper personalization playing a part in your thinking process at the moment?
I think it's a really good question. I think naturally there's a lot of opportunity. I mean, we work in a hyper personalized environment in luxury hospitality anyway. We should be working in that environment, right? I think within the club-based market, where we talked a little bit before we spoke, that there's a big pullback from, let's call it club, the actual experience in the club to more facility. Now we're pivoting back to becoming experience again, because we realize the facility is not going to cut it, right? We've always been about experience, right? Sometimes our facilities have let us down on the fitness side more than anything else, but experience, human connection, connectivity, personalization is endemic within our business and has been for hundreds of years. What we will do is we'll use that, probably start to use this tech and AI elements to enhance that experience, right? On the same time, there's something to be said for, I want to say this in a weird way, but not being personalized. Leave me alone. Let me make my own decisions, right?
Totally.
That's also a type of personalization to a certain degree where, I don't get bombarded. I'd like a brand not to try and assume what I am, who I am, where I am, where I come from. And I think that we as individuals are very sophisticated, right? And that probably goes back to your conversation about, just choosing the content rather than choosing the more personalized ones. So I think there's an excellent opportunity, particularly I think on linking my data, as in what I'm tracking and what I personally am, to other forms of outcome, right? So if I am feeling a certain way, my app X tells me I should be eating a certain thing. If I have over-exercised, then I know that my recovery tool is kicking in and coming to me, right? That's probably where the most exciting thing is going to happen. And I think that people will then use their trusted support partners through apps and through companies, and they'll happily share their personal tracking data to get better outcomes. Right,
agreed.
And that's probably where I see the leap taking place on the fitness and wellness landscape, because at the moment you have more data on your wrist through an Apple Watch or a Whoop or an Oura Ring than any other doctor's ever been able to track ever before. But if I go to a practitioner, I've never had a single doctor ask me, "Can I just check the lifestyle for the last 14 days before I do any prescription for you?" Right?
Agreed.
Which is obviously where I think the next leap's got to come, because you're like, well, I have all this data about me, but where's it going, right? Where's it actually? It only goes back to me. It's like a sort of echo chamber of sort of self-enhancement, right? Now, for many people, that's great, but a lot of people wearing this tracking data, it's simply going nowhere. And if
No,
they could
agree.
go somewhere to support their lifestyle, that would be a fantastic step, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and again, I'm sorry, I keep bringing up this persona piece, but if you're sitting in the achiever, or I think the focus category, if you deliver content or deliver anything in terms of outside of what they're trying to achieve, so the achiever being, I'm running a marathon, they don't want to know anything about anything else other than running a marathon. So you either can be ultra relevant or ultra disrelevant based on what you serve up to them. The same with the focus, right? And I think we've seen that throughout the fitness industry many years. So no, I understand that. And then I guess last question for me, because appreciate your time. Like in terms of just the evolving guest experience, what does the future hold for you?
That's a good one. I think that in terms of development within hospitality, I think that the two areas we talked about, meeting the needs of a changing consumer through movement and through nutrition, is going to be a fantastic opportunity. Right? I think the nutritional side we're only just started to do. Got significant dietary change, significant change happening in terms of the approach to alcohol consumption, right? Which is going to be a big impact in terms of how we approach.
There's been many podcasts talking about how much alcohol is actually going down and the wellness is going up, and
I totally agree. I mean, you need to start preparing yourself, or if not already preparing for a very different consumer coming in when they think about alcohol and nutrition. And so I think hospitality will definitely play a role in that. I think fitness and movement for us is a massive opportunity in terms of embracing big box ideas or boutique ideas. The two other areas I think that we focus on in terms of long-term play. So remember that within Accor, my role is to build a hotel. We started building a hotel yesterday, and it will only come online in 4 to 5 years' time. So we're really much more about the fundamentals, not the fads. We're not going to be the quickest movers in the marketplace. We need to make long-term plays for our investors and for our owners in terms of making recommendations that work. And so the other two I think that are really long-term for us would be the resurgence of bathing culture in terms of socialized bathing. It could be urban locations, it could be resort locations, but creating that sequence of sauna, cold plunge, steam, hammam. It's a universal wellness language. Younger generations adopting this idea of the benefits of sauna culture, cold plunge culture. That's going to have a big impact on how we design spas and well-being, maybe more self-service, self-guided experiences or more experiential elements. It's a big development for us, urban and resort. And then obviously we talk about biohacking. It's another nice B word for us with our 4 Bs of development. But I think for us, it's the longer term plays, elements of recovery, let's call it. And that could be from infrared, sauna, to contrast bathing, to compression therapy, going through to possibly cryo, to hyperbaric. For us, it's going to be about the equipment choices and the tech choices that have got real physiological benefit and demonstration. This stuff has been hyperbaric has been used in professional athletes and sports, and if not in medicine, for 40 years. It's got a real proven solid physiological understanding and benefit. Contrast bathing is around for 2,000 years, right? So these are longer term plays. I think the future scope would be probably more on the cognitive health and development. I think if you're looking for a sort of like a 10-year down the line where the thing is going, I think brain health is going to be the word that we're going to talk about a lot, because it's great to have a wonderfully fit body, but you've got to make sure you've got the sharp mind to make it move, right? And I think that, keeping us cognitively sharp and the impact that technology is going to have on cognitive health and development, right, is going to be a really interesting place for us to play. So let's call it brain health. It's probably the longer term idea and play for the industry.
Nice. And then with the recovery spaces, because of course there's one popping up on every corner at the moment. It's a natural thing that the hotel should be taking that, because you've already got most of the facilities to do it. So would it be a strategy to open them up as a way to get more people to the hotel, or very much only for the guest experience?
No, I think it would be, if you're looking at recovery, and I know you're probably talking about the sort of like infrared sauna and a contrast bathing space, that sort of thing. I think that what you'd see us doing is probably taking it into, when we're designing steams and saunas and thermal areas anyway, right? What's previously probably been a tick box. We have a steam, we have a sauna, we have, a cold plunge, right? It's now giving a bit more space, a bit more prominence, a bit more visibility, and probably a bit more scale. Right, because then you're coming in and you're doing a circuit. So what was before, you'd be there in your swimmers, sat in a 2 or 3 person steam room, you know, you go out, there's nowhere to lie down or nowhere to sit, or it's a bit strange, right?
Yeah.
Now it's a really quite a predominant area of a hotel experience, right? So, you know, it's sort of a mineral-based pool, so on. I think that facility is going to be big. And then if you place that inside a club where you've got 225 square meter gym, indoor pool, spa treatments, recovery-based zones, and contrast bathing, all of a sudden you're a big box club. Right,
pretty much,
And so, if you're a big box club, then what you then do is you say, well, let's design it like a big box club, and let's have access to car parking, which most hotels and urban locations have, and then give it a direct street access, which you can do, right? And then all of a sudden, you've then got a big box club that hotel guests can use, the local community can be a member of, and from an owner's perspective, it's a lot more interesting. So, you know, that's how I would see that. And then maybe in our smaller brands, you're looking at some partnerships and third-party relationships, because obviously within hotels, in urban locations, we have great locations. So maybe there are partnerships where a contrast bathing club comes online, or a boutique fitness club is part of that complex. And that's definitely the conversations that we're having. Yeah.
Yeah, no, nice. Well, look, Emlyn, I feel like I've taken enough of your time. So how do people connect with you, sir?
Always the best to connect via LinkedIn. I can't say I'm the best at getting back to DM messages, but you want to know what I'm up to and where I'm at, then LinkedIn is probably the best way. And if you want to see a bit more of the social elements of my Accor lifestyle, then EMLBRO on Instagram is how you get me on that side.
Emlyn, really, I really appreciate you sharing your insights, and thank you for everything you're doing. I've listened to you speak for many years, so thank you for coming on the pod and going deeper a little bit more into how you see the world in terms of wellness and how it's kind of all emerging. But I think it's a really exciting times for us all, but in particular yourself.
No, I think it's great time to be in our industry, not business. I think that we're blessed now after 25 or 30 years of banging the drum, but now that drum has been listened to, and I think anyone in the fitness and exercise and movement space and the wellness space is in a blessed position. So very thankful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for all you do. Cheers.
Thanks, Paul.